Are we ready to review The Green Knight?
Let's do it.
The Green Knight.
Green Knight.
More like the Green Knot.
We all saw this separately, right?
We did.
Because you got the freaking tech test thing. Like Wednesday morning, Brett's like, "Yeah, I'll go see it with you Friday. That's perfect." And then Thursday night, I'm at dinner, and Brett's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go see it. You want to go see it tonight?" I'm like, "Brett, I told you I can't see it tonight. No, I'm not going."
I know. I was like, I'm not giving up at 2 hours of Halo, prime Halo time.
This guy.
My response to every single evening tweet has always been Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has probably been like the least we've actually done stuff together in the last 2 weeks.
2-ish weeks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, we're changing that.
Oh, it's Suicide Squad, let's go!
But we're not here to talk about Suicide Squad. We're here to talk about The Green Knight. This is David Lowery's interpretation of a lost 14th century, I think it's 14th century poem. So based on something, based on a poem, and the movie is kind of lets you know that right away.
Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Gawain. That's what we had forgotten how to pronounce it earlier. Luke and I. Garwin.
Just gonna call him Sir G.
Sir G.
Sir Gawain.
Yeah. What were you guys' What's kind of your initial impressions of the movie?
Disappointing.
Ooh, Luke over here with the hot takes.
Is that all you wrote? Do you actually have like a tweet right?
Of course.
I just said just meh. Whenever I liked something, they always usually ruined it with something else.
So whenever there were aspects of the movie that you're like, ooh, and nice, and there was something or is followed by something that
Just made me
brought
go.
you down.
Yeah, it was pretty much.
So my impression tweet was, "The Green Knight is the classic hero's tale to a T. Dev Patel handles the role of Sir Gawain wonderfully. The movie overall has some issues with lighting and pacing, but overall is well made and enjoyable."
Oh, all right, Tyler. I was wondering where's Luke going?
I gotta get my charger, or else I'm not gonna be able to watch Olympics.
Priorities. The Olympics are Luke's priority.
Olympics are better than Green Knight.
You know what this movie is?
Not good? No, I'm just kidding. It was alright. I actually did like it, I should say. I just thought it was okay.
It is the only movie, like, what would you compare it to?
His other stuff is the only thing I can compare it to.
David Lowery's?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen any of his stuff.
I've not.
The only thing I recognized on his IMDb was Peach Dragon. I definitely didn't go see that. I compare it to when you're trying to take a nap but can't.
Wow. I would compare this to Blade Runner 2049.
No. Interesting comparison. I want to dig into that in a little bit, Tyler. My impressions of this have rocked back and forth quite a bit. There's a lot. I think there's a lot to like. I think there's a lot that's well executed. But I think there is some story elements that are not satisfactory. There's not payoff in the end that makes things make sense like they should. The movie tries to be vague and is ultimately too vague. And also lighting.
The lighting was driving me nuts.
I don't know why someone watched the Siege of Winterfell from Game of Thrones season 8 and was like, that. I want a third of my movie to be that.
Yeah.
A scene takes place at night and it's just like, I feel like the old lady at the castle just wearing a scarf around my face.
Like when he's walking down the hill, like you can't even see him.
But
you know there's a hill there. You just can't see what he's doing.
It's one of those things that I expected it to have some sort of metaphorical payoff for at the end, but when I'm talking about this movie and its themes and its plot, I don't feel like it does a good job of having any kind of resolution. For, there's no purpose for it to be that dark. Sometimes a movie will be like, this is a dream state, and so we're gonna make it different than the world. That's a really simple explanation, example. And obviously it's just a thing that I'm saying. It's an example.
I agree with you with the vagueness.
Doesn't pay off those things in any meaningful way. So
I just thought it was way overly confusing, mainly from the vagueness. Like there was just multiple times throughout the movie where it's just like, what? And then it just kind of keeps going, like the stuff with his mom. What? Alicia Vikander. Okay. I guess I'm too stupid for this movie. Maybe, I don't know. It was so boring. There's the bit where Alicia Vikander has a big monologue at the castle. No idea what she said. No idea. I totally tuned out. I was so bored. It also, one of my big cons for this movie was sound mixing. Bad. The sound effects sounded so cool, but they're so loud compared to like when people are talking and it's like mumbled and...
Is it you that I texted said I'd like to watch it again with
subtitles?
Yeah.
And I noticed it right away. Because the first thing that this movie does is it's like almost like the Lord of the Rings where Galadriel's talking. It's somebody like narrating the poem. No idea what she said. It sounds like this. Okay. Do I have to read the poem to know what you said? Sound mixing drove me crazy throughout the entire thing.
I think, yeah. So back to my kind of impression. I walked out of the movie disappointed. That said, the more I've thought about it over the last 4 days, the more I've like come up on it in terms of like, okay, like I'm getting what I think David Lowery's going for. But again, I think what he's going for, not that's his point and it makes sense. And that vagueness that I'm talking about when it's like, why is the things happening? What's the point of the movie? It's just not made real clear. And I think that's so that each individual person can kind of come up with their own. It's a way to do a movie. I don't think it's a good way to tell a story. I don't think it's a good way to tell a story. I think it's a fine message, but it's not one that I particularly resonate with. So,
I agree.
I don't know how many do we want to talk pros cons? We should just do pros cons. Luke kind of already talked about some pros cons.
I think the pro to get out of the way is Dev Patel.
Oh, absolutely.
I think Dev Patel did a really good job.
He's good.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah, he did great.
Yes. You could tell he was 100% in on this movie. He sold himself.
I hope so.
Yeah, some lead actors just show up and are like, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not him. Not in this movie. And when it's a weird movie, sometimes that can be hard. But I think a lot of times these actors and actresses, they really appreciate like, a weird movie. I get to shine. I get to do weird things. Really weird things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would 100% agree. Big pro there.
I have the score also written down.
Yeah, the music was super good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I'd like to listen to it again, but I forgot my headphones when I went to work today.
Oh, no.
I think some of the shots and camera work were actually really good.
Cinematography.
If it was during the day,
the day stuff's good.
Fantastic.
And I think the final encounter looks really good too, with like the yellowish lighting. I thought that looked really cool. Yeah, but the night stuff. So it's I wrote some camera work.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's just anything that was at night. It just was not enjoyable for me. Yeah, I don't know. And then a final thing I have is it is set in the King Arthur time frame. He's King Arthur's nephew, but you don't know that from this movie, and I kind of appreciate that because they don't really lean on that to make it, popular. It's just kind of is.
Do they say Arthur's name ever?
They mention at the beginning that they're in Camelot.
Okay.
They never say he's King Arthur.
I just always assumed it was Arthur, and then they say, "Oh, you're the nephew or whatever." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. He's King
Is
Arthur's
it true
nephew.
that his sword is? Yeah.
Yeah,
There's the whole little moment with
He took the sword out of the stone.
Yeah.
You didn't really hold the sword, did you? Yeah.
He's like, you bet I did.
That's one of those moments where vagueness works, and it works in favor of the story.
Yep. I just like that they didn't rely on, in the marketing, hey, this is a King Arthur story. Because it's not.
It's
not
at all.
And I kind of like that.
Not at all. I will say I like a number of the scenes. I think this is a movie of scenes rather than story.
Like a poem.
Almost like a poem. See, and this is why I'm kind of coming around to it, is because I like these kind of almost, let's call them stanzas. It's like, here's a little story, a little part of the quest, and it's not necessarily directly tied into the next part. It's its own thing, and like a poem, like a myth, it doesn't necessarily have to end where the next one begins. And I appreciate that from a storytelling perspective. I know I kind of sound like I'm going back and forth on this, but
you sound like me reviewing Blade Runner.
I'll hit my
when
final
I couldn't
one.
Figure out what I thought of it.
My final thought on the finale at the end, because I think my opinion of the end is different than your guys's.
Another pro, costumes.
Yeah.
Really specifically with the Green Knight, looked really good.
Oh, all practical too.
Yeah,
it looks sweet.
It was really good. Really
I think
well
it's
done.
pretty shoe-in for the nomination there. It's a pretty complicated costuming going on.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's shoe-in's a good way to put that. I don't know that. Now you have me thinking about award season. I don't know if Dev will get nommed for this.
It's so there's only 5 nominations for actors, and it's
I just can't
so
see him getting it. But he is really good.
5 or 6. 6. I don't remember. But yeah, he's really good. Guess we'll see once all the Oscar movies actually come out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it really did resonate with critics, and I would tend to say those kind of awards do tend to align. So I could see it.
Percentage is at 50. 53.
53. Yeah, I think it was at 60 when I checked it last. So.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised by that at all.
No.
This movie is not for general audience whatsoever.
Nope. It is not. I was surprised how much I liked it, honestly.
Did you have any other pros?
No.
No?
Not that I have written down.
Okay. Do we want to talk about some we mentioned the lighting, especially at night,
darkness.
the night scenes. I guess I'm glad they didn't necessarily do a bad job shooting day for night, but I also you should add a light in there when you're shooting at night.
Yeah, as I was watching, I was like, man.
Was this used with natural light?
Yeah, it had to be.
There's
no way.
Can only imagine.
I cannot imagine they wouldn't do. I just remember thinking, man, this is natural light gone wrong. While I was watching it, all the night stuff, daytime stuff.
I guess another pro. I really like the fox.
The fox is cool.
Looks good too. Good effect there.
Another interesting thing that looked great, absolutely, but in terms of story and vagueness and what does it represent, it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, it made no sense to me. I just liked the fox. I just wanted to follow the fox around.
More fox.
I want to watch this film from the fox's perspective.
What do you guys think about ancillary, secondary characters? We get a few. You mentioned Alicia Vikander is kind of one of the other big names in here.
I don't know if I can talk about her role without spoiling. I guess.
Did you? How about just a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Did not I didn't understand what he was trying to do. And really by that time too, I don't think I cared anymore. I was so confused. I was just like, okay, I just don't understand what he's
I think I think she served her purpose, and her purpose was like, in my understanding of it is this is like the chivalrous knight's tale, right? Like this, she was the example of how he proved to be a chivalrous knight and how he tried to just be honorable. Like while she's throwing herself at him, he's kind of like resisting it as best he can. I mean, he didn't bang her, right?
Suppose I interpreted it that way as well.
Yeah, I took it as he was resisting the urge.
I did too. Yes.
Resisting's to a certain degree.
Right. So I think, for what she was there for, that and being the chick back in Camelot, she did good.
Yeah. So if you're, she has dual roles in this movie, and I don't necessarily. That's maybe a spoiler. I think that's what Luke was trying to avoid saying.
I don't know if it's a spoiler.
But that's the thing. I don't know either because I don't completely understand the point of her being in dual roles. Is there a story reason that would be a spoiler? I don't know because I can't figure it out.
He got to the castle, and Vikander was there, and I was just like, who was the person in the beginning of the movie that looks exactly like Alicia Vikander?
I'm going to write something down so I can remember it to talk about after.
And then I was just like, that's a weird choice.
Agreed.
And I
agreed.
It just kept confusing me.
Did you want to talk about what you're writing right now?
No.
Okay, after.
It could be spoiling.
Well then we won't,
because it's all about the end.
Yeah, other than, I mean, she's definitely the actress with the most screen time outside of
Dev Patel.
Dev. But I did think that like Joel Edgerton had a nice little performance. I appreciated
so weird.
Sean Harris as King Arthur or King. But yeah, no, I thought the secondary cast did pretty well. Yeah, the weird casting thing is really what gets me on that.
Yeah.
Other cons?
I just think it's a slow burn. We kind of talked about how it's not for general audiences. I think that's typically a con when it comes to general audiences, that it is, if it's a slow burn, it's a little bit harder for people to get into.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily consider that a con, except that I would say that
I think the con part of it is when you're expecting slow and it feels too slow.
See, for me, it's fine if you're slow, but you
like Blade Runner 2049. Since we've talked about it a little bit, very slow movie. I was expecting it. It's a sci-fi, little detective mystery kind of thing going on. I feel like it works way better in that.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting it in Blade Runner, and so it took.
You had no idea what you're getting into with Blade Runner.
It was like such a different thing than what I expected, and so when I saw this trailer, I was like, I don't think this is what it looks like. And so going into this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like the whole time, I've not read the poem, but I just like as soon as I sat down and it started, I was like, okay, yep, this is exactly what I expected. Like I did not expect like a big war or anything like that. I thought it would be very, very low key, and it was. That was okay with me, but it was like, I think you're right. It's a slow movie. You go into it knowing it's going to be slow, but it's slower than you expect. So that's probably how I would define it.
Yeah. Let's see. And then the big con for me is lack of concrete theme. Or not even concrete. Concrete's the wrong word.
Maybe?
Being ambiguous to an extreme, I think, is how I would say that.
Too ambiguous.
It's too ambiguous.
Too vague.
The poem, which I went and I didn't read because it's in freaking Old English and
it's super long.
It's very long, but I did read some people who wrote about the poem. the movie makes a little more sense after reading the poem, and it has a very clear moral. What I'll say. Some people may not find that satisfactory, but I do think that it would have at least made the slow burn a little more enjoyable. Because it's like, oh, at the end I get to like, all right, and now I'm gonna think about it, and I guess the movie's still making me think about it, but
That's what I wrote down.
mhm.
So when we can spoil things, I think it's about two things. My takeaway is acceptance
Okay.
and chivalry, which obviously is a given, but to a certain degree.
Yeah. Well, let's get ready to jump into some spoilers then.
Ratings?
Yeah, give us your ratings. We'll just go down the line. Luke.
I give it a Matthew McConaughey. I think it's fine. It's not for the general audience. It's for such a really, I think, a niche group. Shakespearean film fans, maybe. And Tyler.
And Tyler.
Shakespeare film fan.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
If you like poetry, maybe you'll like this movie. I like rap.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it way more than I think I expected to. I was pretty excited for it. But I also gave it to Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Well, then it's straight across the board, all Matthew
Mine's
McConaughey's.
strong, but
Mine,
yes.
mine would probably have started out as a low to medium Matthew McConaughey, and it has grown to a stronger
Yeah,
Matthew
mine's
McConaughey.
strong Matthew McConaughey.
So
Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey.
He's in this movie too.
Dude, that would have been awesome. No,
Green Knight, you didn't know? Just blazing that up.
that's it. Booyah now. No, Jungle Cruise and this movie are just like high-fiving on my list right now. It's Matthew McConaughey's.
there you go. So this
They're like,
is
we're
your,
just good enough for Luke.
your warning, your spoiler warning. So if you care about spoilers, spoiling the Green Knight, if you have no intention of seeing it, we hope you keep listening. If you haven't seen it and you want to, and you don't want to hear what's gonna be happening, final warning to get out of here. So
I don't imagine there's a ton of people who listen to our show that want to watch this movie. But
who knows, right? Who knows?
Maybe hearing the spoilers will convince them.
So,
Or not.
what do you want to talk about first in terms of the
Can
spoiler
we talk about his
land?
mom?
Yeah,
Can we please talk about... What?
the mother.
Did he... Did his mom just, like, get him killed?
Well, to be fair, we don't know he's dead.
I would have just not put that bit in the movie. Just have the Green Knight show up. Just be like, yo, what? Who's this dude? Just Groot walking in here, hands his letter, seal breaks, spell happens. But no, like, they put in the bit with his mom, and I'm just like...
Did you guys also interpret his mom was the fox as well? So I also interpreted that way.
I thought about it. I wasn't sure, though.
I thought the mom summoned the Green Knight to get somebody else killed, and Gawain.
That is exactly how
he wants
interpreted
honor
it
and
too.
glory because he's not a knight like the rest of the room.
Right.
And so he steps up, and she realizes, "Oh crap, I made the wrong decision." But he's gonna do it, whatever. And then she does the fox bit, and she
thing.
tries to warn him, like, "Don't do it. You're gonna die." But he goes anyways because he's about honor and glory.
But then there's no payoff. Because
I
it never
think-
gets brought up again.
I think he's dead.
That's fair.
Well, so that's what I wrote down, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and you
so-
mentioned acceptance.
Acceptance,
I assume
right?
this is
So
what you're talking about.
we talk about Alicia Vikander, and this is kind of the hard part to talk about without spoiling. She is the whore in Camelot,
Mhm.
and then she's the head of this castle thing.
The lady.
So when he goes to the Green Knight and he's on his knees and he keeps panicking, right?
Right.
He kind of goes through this thing where he views his life.
He
like,
gives a flash forward. A very cool sequence.
right, like what comes of me if I leave, if this goes. And, he loves the whore, Alicia Vikander character. He gets her pregnant, and then he has to do her wrong, and it goes back to him being chivalrous, right? Like, I can't do that to her. So everything I'll earn going back isn't worth the pain it'll cause others. but I'll just accept this here and die here. And that's kind of how I viewed it.
Okay.
That
I
was
can
my
buy it.
takeaway.
No, I can. That makes sense to me. So I'm on board, but I still don't understand the need for her to be in that dual role purpose.
Yeah, that's weird. But I just
It seemed
think
to be
of them
one
as
thing.
separate
Like,
characters.
what if he, like, at the castle, he walks in and it's this beautiful lady, and then, like, as the days go on and he gets closer and closer to dipping into that temptation, maybe she, like, starts looking like Alicia Vikander. It's like him justifying wanting to sleep with this woman type of thing. Like, that's way more interesting, and I think makes more thematic sense with him trying to be noble than, is it Alicia Vikander again?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought
Or
of them
are they
as-
two completely separate
So that's
characters
how I
and they
viewed them.
just
I viewed them as separate characters. I didn't even think about any of that. I was just like, okay, yeah, she's totally different here. I think it's A24. They're cheap. They're just doing this to save money. Is all I thought. I really didn't give any credence to them being the same actress.
That's fair. Fair. Luke, thoughts?
I just think it's dumb that his mom got him killed. I think she's an idiot.
So yeah.
That's where it all started. I took it way back, but
No, but like that is one of the reasons I do appreciate films like these that have some of this funkiness is that we can talk in
Yeah, you can
circles
hash
for
it out,
hours,
yeah.
right? And we can kind of, go back and forth on these things. I don't necessarily think it makes a better movie, but it makes it fun film discourse, fun to talk about. But yeah, Luke, I would agree. The mom thing was weird. The Alicia Vikander part also, why dual cast? I don't know. It doesn't seem to have any relevance. In fact, on in the poem, like in the poem itself, like the mother's is a witch, and that seems to be why it's in there. But just like, and maybe it's just the movie being true to the poem, there's not much of a
Point.
There's not much of a point to her being a witch summoning the Green Knight.
can we talk about another thing that I thought was weird?
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can just...
That's what all these. That's
You seem to understand more. He goes to Winifred's, and we don't really see anything for the next 10 minutes. But then the axe is just there.
Yeah.
So either explanation 1, magic.
My favorite explanation for everything, magic.
Explanation 2, Barry Keoghan, whatever his name is, killed Winifred, and she all decomposed in less than a day. I didn't get that either.
So this is kind of where, when I mentioned earlier how the movie is built almost in these like kind of fragmented stanzas, more like a myth. I think David Lowery loves myth, and this is why I'm growing more and more on this movie, is because it's less about the literal transpiring of events, like here to here to here, and more about
This 10-minute scene.
this 10-minute scene, this 10-minute scene, this 10-minute scene. I think the first part is this idea of someone who's kind of a nobody. The opening of the movie is basically the king telling Gawain
Dev.
to like
Sir
tell
Gawain.
me a story about your life, and he doesn't have one. And so then, like, maybe this is just him crafting a story. And when we craft stories, they're not typically picture perfect, right? They don't.
miss
But
things,
but
yeah.
but each scene has should have a moral purpose. And in this case, in the poem at least, it's about to become a knight, he must become honorable and do right, and so it's all about this temptation. So the first scene with the on the road with the thief, a great scene, by the way. I did really enjoy that.
I liked his character.
It serves a purpose of
Very.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe he shouldn't, even when you do good things, bad things can happen to you, or maybe he should have done a better thing. Like there's a range of interpretation there. And the next one, he he does the right thing again. He says, "Oh, I will help you, rest in peace." Very, very honorable. And then
Kind of.
well,
He wanted something in return.
he did. But then the scene at the kind of the final tribulation, I suppose, is the scene at the castle where he has to
Avoid Alicia.
avoid or say no, and in a way he does. I mean, I think it's debatable on the level of how much is that cheating. But then there is an interesting parallel at the end of the story with the Green Knight when he does have, but he's cheating by having the sash. And then he says, "No, I will not." See, I'm talking myself that I'm really enjoying this, because now I'm like, okay, so the point of the movie was he's becoming honorable no matter the cost.
Over time, yeah. Slowly but surely. I liked it.
Did any of that make any sense, Luke?
It doesn't explain why the axe is just there, though.
The point that does not matter.
I'm so sorry about that.
What I'm telling you is that I don't think it matters, and that absolutely can be frustrating.
See, all this stuff was happening, so I was just like, that ghost was the Green Knight. That fox is the Green Knight. The thieves were the Green... I thought everybody was the Green Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just, like, getting tested a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Which I think is how sometimes it's written.
In the poem, the Lord of the Castle
is the Green Knight,
the Green
right?
Knight, yeah.
I thought that's what it was going to be, and then it wasn't. Maybe. I don't know. It could have been still.
It's just vague enough that you're right, like that, and that is still frustrating to me. It's still just a little too vague on some of those.
Yeah. Maybe we keep going back to like the vagueness and the ambiguity, and if it wasn't like that in every single
scene
part, I think I'd like it more.
Yeah.
He also does this weird thing with
there's a lot of it
with time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we mentioned the flash forward, but when he's tied up in the forest, there's this pan that like pans the cross, and it's like, oh, like this is like 3 seasons later, and he's dead, and then it rotates back and he's alive. And then his sword was his sword always there, or did his sword just?
He uses it to cut himself out.
Yeah,
it was.
They leave the.
They left the sword.
The only thing they took the axe. Yeah,
the axe and the horse.
Yeah.
The horse shows up again later. And then
I thought it was very convenient that Alicia Vikander also had the same sash.
That's another thing. Why would she have the same sash?
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Or she too is the Green Knight. Yeah.
Or she is actually
his mom?
His mother.
That is very awkward. Actually, the person I thought that was his mother was the lady who was covering her eyes, because the witches cover their eyes.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the other interesting thing with time and maybe some foreshadowing is after he's dismembered the Green Knight of its head, and the 1 year later, there's a little play that's happening out somewhere, and there's children watching it, and they show a couple different things.
I tried so hard to like remember that little wheel, because I was like, I feel like I gotta remember this, and I just couldn't.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious on a rewatch, because I do want to rewatch this. I think
let me know
having a little more knowledge of the poem and just talking through it more. I want to see if kind of what I'm thinking makes more sense or not. But yeah, there's just some interesting things there that I think could mean something, and maybe we all are just missing it.
I'll go with you. I'll watch it again.
All right.
I won't. I think I'll like it less.
That's fine. I understand.
I think I'll start just nitpicking it, which I kind of am, but I don't want to do that.
Any other?
I'm gonna go see Jungle Cruise again.
The other weird thing. This movie has an end credit scene. Tyler, did you stay for the end credit scene?
I should also say I actually really liked the ending of this movie. The flash forward and then he's like, "Oh, you passed off your head." Like, oh, there he goes. Say that. That's honestly, I think, why I'm on the positive side of this movie more than the negative side. Just because it ended cool. I just liked the ending.
It's kind of
the whole movie. I'm going, and I ended over here with a smile.
Like a word I don't think I've ever used in conversation, but the ending of it is kind of like cheeky. It's kind of like this goofy, like, I'm gonna smile at you, audience. We're actually just gonna kill this guy. Like,
yeah,
I thought that was cool. I like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You know.
Well, I know what happens in the poem, and I just don't know if,
Does he die in the poem?
No.
He gets a little cut on his neck.
In the poem, the knight basically says,
"You passed.
You passed the test. I was the Lord, and I'm going to give you a mark, but it won't be. You get to become a knight, essentially." And so then he goes back to Camelot, and I don't think that necessarily, in and of itself, is a stronger ending, but I think it's at least. It's not ambiguous.
I think if it ended, this is so. If it ended that way, I feel like it wouldn't be an A24 movie.
Oh, probably not. Probably not.
Like A24 is meddling. I want to see the Lowry cut where it wasn't an ambiguous ending.
Because I don't know that I've seen an A24 movie that isn't kind of ambiguous.
Good Time wasn't very ambiguous.
I guess Good
Just
Time.
goes
but
to
they
jail.
go crazy.
Yeah. That's.
I also so
the Vivitch.
The Vivitch. I love the Vivitch.
Good Time more just doesn't start at the beginning and doesn't end at the end. You just kind of get the middle.
Yeah. Right. So there's always like weird stuff.
Yeah.
Like with all their movies, there's always some.
Dude,
weird
A24 almost bought Bond.
That would have been insane.
Just remember that. That would have been crazy.
I don't know if I would have liked that.
Oh, I probably would have hated it.
Was the girl at the end, the daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the same daughter from the Flash Forward?
I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
But I think here. I just thought of this right now. Alicia Vikander was already pregnant with a kid. Maybe.
But she's just playing with the crown. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's King Arthur's grandnephew.
You think that day and age,
I
they
don't
would have
know.
been like, "Hey, this whore has come up from the slums and is like, this is your nephew's
King Arthur
son."
could be a really cool dude, man. He's like,
He did seem to be a little more chill. in
it
this
could have been
version.
the only heir of his was the grandnephew.
Well, we know that there was a son that was off on a quest and just had like never come back, and that's why he was like,
his son is the Green Knight.
"Father, I solved the movie."
The Green Knight is a clone.
I absolutely thought that Dave Patel would become the Green Knight. Like, it's one of those things where you go to it and like maybe there is a killing blow, but then like the Green Knight dissolves and
you wake up
as the Green Knight. Totally thought that was gonna happen.
So I
was
thought
wrong there.
I've not read the poem. I totally thought that like Sir Gawain's nickname after this event would be the Green.
Oh yeah.
For slaying the Green Knight.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
And he had the green sash. And I was like, coming together? No. Not. I was very wrong.
What about those giants? Sorry, I know we're going long. We don't have to keep talking, but I'm curious. Did the giants mean anything to y'all?
No. He's just like, "Hey, can I get a ride?" They're like, "See ya," and they walked off. And I was like, maybe that was the mushrooms. He eats mushrooms. But then I was like, but there's so much other magic going on. What would the point of be showing somebody? And he was not frightened at all. He's just like, "It's the giants. Can I get a ride, please?" He's left.
Apparently not.
It was one of the parts where it's like, because it felt just a little long to me. It's like,
that could have been cut.
Don't know if that needed to be in there.
Yeah.
Could have just kind of started moving forward to the
resolution.
The naughty castle.
The naughty castle.
The pleasure house.
Now I like naughty castle.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think much of the Giants, honestly. I kind of agree with Luke. I think it was, like, in the trailer, you're like, oh, man, that's a real moment. And then in the movie, I was kind of like, okay. All right, moving on.
Yeah. They looked good.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that...
What if this is just
does
the
not wrap up
prequel
our
to Attack on Titan?
Keep talking.
Attack
on Titan.
Attack on Titan. This is just the medieval prequel to Attack on Titan.
I'll buy it.
Oh, man. I guess I need to watch Attack on Titan now. I'll confirm in at least 4 years. Ship it in. It's going to take a long time.
You only have like 1,000 episodes left, right?
Left, yeah. I've watched like 50.
All right. Well,
It's
that
really
wraps
well.
up our review of The Green Knight. Matthew McConaughey's across the board. If you're into the weird films, maybe give it a shot.
Tell us
If you're into the weird films,
And if you understand
go watch
it,
The Lighthouse.
if you understand it better than us, I'm actually legitimately curious about like the different takes people have on it, like the different interpretation. So hit me up.
My take is I've enjoyed the Transformers movies too much and I'm too stupid to watch this movie.
See, Luke, this is why I resist. I resist enjoying the Transformers movies so I can attempt to enjoy.
Optimus Prime's speech is too inspiring to dislike.
I don't resist either side of this. Like I think I have
Tyler
started to
being
like
the harmonizer over here.
These weird movies.
My goodness.